Squidward. Welcome to the night shift.
Cause I got a feeling that Lamar's gonna have a good night. That Lamar's gonna have a good night. That Lamar's gonna have a good night. I got a feeling, hardball, that Lamar's gonna have a good night. That Lamar's gonna have a good night. That Lamar's gonna have a good night. I got a feeling, hardball. Woo! Tonight's the night. Let's kick it off with the Ravens win, guys. All this talk about Lamar Jackson not being able to win in the playoff. First of all, guys, this was only his second full season after an MVP performance last year. I told you guys it was on the Ravens defense last year. They could not contain Derrick Henry. It was a team effort tonight. Derrick Henry was bottled up to 18 carries, 40 rushing yards, but most importantly, that guy, Lamar Jackson, scores his first playoff win. I know he had the interception, guys. He was by no means perfect, but I got a feeling that he's going to have a good night, guys, via the Black Eyed Peas, via his first playoff win. What an amazing, amazing performance by this guy. Look, we talk a lot about the role of passing in a quarterback, but we're missing the main point here, guys. The main role of a quarterback is still to lead your team to winning. And that's what Lamar Jackson got done tonight. That's what he got done this afternoon. He led his Baltimore Ravens. He did his part to a big, big win against the Titans. And I got a feeling, baby, he's going to have another good night against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, a.k.a. Lester Lamar Jackson.
With that, everybody, a pleasant, good Sunday evening, and welcome into the MI6 Sports Network's late night sports talk show. That, of course, folks, is the night shift on this Sunday, January 10th, 2021. I believe our first night shift episode of the new year of 2021. We welcome in, folks, a full plinthroll of the MI6 host family. Our good man, John Alcorn, Stephen Wang, Ryan Schreiner, and Isaiah Leung joining us here. And, of course, folks, yours truly, Callan, McClurg from the home studios here in San Diego. We will first, though, folks, go to Ryan. We don't want to keep Ryan here too long, of course. His Cleveland Browns have finally won a playoff game for the first time in quite a long time. And, Ryan, as I have told you, buddy, several times over the course of the past couple of hours, 2020 and 2021 proved to be great years for both the Padres and the Browns, my friend. Ryan, good to see you, man. If you can even hear us, if you're even awake, man, how's it going tonight?
Ooh. Are we going to hear Ryan sing here?
What's up, guys? Oh, let me turn on my lights real quick.
Man, he's very excited that Lamar Jackson won.
Nope. I'm not going to talk about Lamar Jackson.
Don't rain on the loser's parade, because Ryan and I have had to endure 20-plus years of failure from both of our teams.
Thank you,
Yes,
Callan,
I'll let you have the floor, Ryan. Congratulations.
Yes, we're not here to discuss Lamar Jackson being carried by a good O-line and great defense.
Okay.
Despite his offense scoring 20 points and him only having one real or maybe like 2 or 3 key plays in the entire game. I'm not here to discuss Lamar Jackson, who is maybe the 9th to 12th best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not here for that. What I'm here for is the Cleveland Browns winning their first playoff game since 1994, I believe. And ironically enough, Bill Belichick was coaching the Cleveland Browns against the New England Patriots. So it's just come full circle. The Browns are. I honestly cannot put it into words. First of all, let me just say this before I say anything else. Corvette into a big L, Juju Smith-Schuster, talking all that crap before the game. You had a good game, but no one else on your team really wanted to show up. People were praising Big Ben. He threw 4 interceptions. He looked like he was on the verge of retirement in the middle of the game. I mean, I cannot tell you how happy I am right now. The factory of sadness in Cleveland has become the factory of hope. I don't know if anyone outside of Cleveland really can put into words how important this win is for Cleveland. Yes, there was the Cleveland Championship back in 2016, which will always reign supreme as probably the most important Cleveland moment in history. But this moment is second to none. I've always said Cleveland is a football town. It just doesn't appear that way because the Browns have been so bad for so long that sorry, but the Browns have been so bad for so long that it didn't seem like it, but Cleveland loves its football, and today Cleveland can finally celebrate. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that the Browns had lost 17 straight times to in Pittsburgh since 1970, the merger. Cleveland was 6-44 in Pittsburgh against Pittsburgh. The Steelers had a sack streak, at least one sack per game, for like 75 straight games, which was broken tonight. No one made note of that during the broadcast, but the Steelers have had a sack in like 75 straight games, and it was broken tonight. And that's because the Cleveland Browns had a smart game plan going into tonight's game. They threw the ball quickly, didn't allow the pass rush to get to Baker Mayfield. It was just absolutely brilliant. Kevin Stefanski wasn't there, but his fingerprints were all over this win. Kevin Stefanski for Coach of the Year. If anyone else wins it besides him, it's an absolute shame, and that award should just go away. I will just say this. Kevin Stefanski is just the absolute best coach Cleveland has had in any sport outside of the Cleveland baseball team, because they've done really good, but I had so many things I wanted to say, but once I got on air, it's just it's hard to put into words how happy I am, because Cleveland has suffered for so long, and the Browns were the butt of every single joke. So to get just one win is just absolutely incredible. And I just have to give credit where credit's due to some key moments over the last few years that led up to this moment. The first key moment that I want to bring up is the addition of the man whose jersey I'm wearing, Jarvis Landry. He was the beginning of the culture shift. Kevin Stefanski took it home and made it into a culture of winning, but it had to start somewhere, and it started with a trade for Jarvis Landry. The man has been absolutely invaluable to the Cleveland Browns. He really turned around the culture of the Browns. He was the beginning of what the Browns are now. I give all the credit in the world. I hope Landry is a Brown for the rest of his career. He deserves all the praise that any of the great Cleveland athletes get. In my opinion, he's up there with LeBron. He's up there with Jim Brown. He's up there with the greatest of greatest Cleveland legends. He is, I can't put into words how valuable he's been to this team. And then another key addition, drafting Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield in the same, they were the same draft. drafting those two in the same rounds, complete culture change because Baker Mayfield came into the Browns organization with the confidence and the willpower to overcome a team that went 0-16 the year before he came. He completely changed everything. And sorry. He and Nick Chubb completely changed the culture. Baker Mayfield had the confidence, and Nick Chubb was a breath of fresh air. I've heard plenty of people say this, lunch pail kind of guy would come in, do his work, get results, and not talk crap like so many players in the NFL. It's a breath of fresh air, and he is another Cleveland legend. And I have to give, and with all that said, even though those two are Cleveland legends, and the person I'm about to bring up is a Cleveland legend, in my opinion, as well, the MVP of this year is Wyatt Teller, the right guard for the Cleveland Browns. His contribution to this year has been absolutely, I can't even put into words how incredible he's been. He's been the best right guard, forget that, best guard in football, and he does not get any love. He didn't make the Pro Bowl. He didn't make the All-Pro team, but he is the best guard in football. He went from being a guy that every single Cleveland fan wanted replaced, including me in the offseason, to being the best player on the Cleveland Browns. Based on performance this year, he is the best player on the Cleveland Browns, regardless of position. And outside of that, I know Joel, our left guard, wasn't able to play in this game, but he has been so valuable to this franchise. He's been here since 2014. And honestly, one of the best parts about today's win is that he has a chance to play in a playoff game after being on the Browns since 2014, been through so many losing seasons. For him to get the chance to play in a playoff game, I can't express how happy I am that man gets to do that. And then Zeller, our center, Callan, our all-pro right tackle, the key addition in this free agency has been absolutely incredible. Adrian Claiborne, the free agent addition at defensive end, had to step up when Olivier Vernon unfortunately suffered an Achilles injury. He played a great game today. Didn't get a ton of sacks, but had tons of pressure throughout the game. Played an absolutely amazing game. Our linebacker, Taki, I cannot pronounce his name, but Taki played an absolute great game. Had the play of the game, biggest play in Cleveland Browns history this millennia, when he picked off Ben Roethlisberger for his fourth interception to set the Browns up for a field goal to make it a 19-point game, I believe. So all the credit to him. The secondary didn't play well this game, but these are like some of these guys like practice squad guys. So for them to step up and play all the snaps they played and to contribute to a winning game, I have to give credit to that. I mean, like I said, it's been the factory of sadness for so long, but it is now the factory of hope. The Cleveland Browns are officially back. I think people say that when they made the playoffs, but now this just cements it. I cannot express. It's so hard for non-Cleveland fans to like understand how much this means. Yes, you hear how like the Browns are terrible, but it just hits different when you beat Ben Roethlisberger, Juju, and all the Steelers who just talk trash all week, saying that they were the same old Browns. Eric Ebron, who had the audacity to reply to a tweet at LeBron James when LeBron James tweeted 8-3, go Browns, and Eric Ebron said, where are they going? I'll tell you where they're going, Eric Ebron. They're going further in the playoffs than you. That's for darn sure. Dropping everything that comes your way. I mean, 2021, bring it on. This has been just a fantastic year so far, and I cannot wait to see how the rest of it unfolds. If the Browns lose 51-0 to the Kansas City Chiefs next week, I don't care. This has been an absolutely magical season. And even if by some, even if the worst case scenario happens and the Browns go back to being the Browns of old after this season will always be in my memory, and I will love and cherish this season. This has been just absolutely beautiful. And I'll close with this. I have been one of Baker Mayfield's biggest critics, but I will say this. In 2018, he said he could help contribute to the Browns turnaround and get the Browns back to being the Browns of old before the turn of the millennia. He did that, and I have to give him credit for it. I was his biggest doubter for the longest time, but he has proved me wrong. He helped the Browns realize their potential, and he played well enough for the Browns to win 11 games, win a playoff game. And I'm going to close with this one statement. Franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield is a franchise quarterback, and I'm excited for the future of the Browns. It is going to be a fun ride, and I will officially, I've said this a lot, I'm just realizing that now, but I officially end it with this. Cheers to the Browns' current playoff hopes and their playoff future.
I will also add this, Ryan. Alcorn, you have Super Bowl victories. Isaiah, you have World Series victories, as does Wang. Ryan and I don't have crap, so don't give us anything about you having a drought where our teams didn't make the playoffs for over 15 to 20 to 25 years. So, Ryan, I'll do one more for the little guys. Cleveland and San Diego. Here we come, big fella.
Beautifully said. And also, to all the, I just have to say this again, to all the 49ers fans that said that their team has suffered the most, talk to me and Callan. We know suffering and we know joy. Callan, I hope your Padres are up next year. The Cleveland baseball team surely won't be because their salary is less than some individual players. So yeah, the Cleveland baseball team has
Mike Trout's contract is worth more than the Indians' payroll next season.
That's the one. His single year, he's going to get paid more next year than the entire payroll of the Cleveland baseball team. So
yes,
that's, we don't talk about that right now. This is a happy day for Cleveland, but yes, I'm so happy, and I hope your Padres get it next year. I mean, they would be the team because another reason I want them to win. Another reason I want the Padres to win is that they're spitting in the face of the unwritten rules of baseball, which I think is the dumbest thing ever. Like, flip the bat, celebrate, get people invested and interested in baseball. I watched some baseball games this year because of the Padres. I like the Padres. So if any team deserves to win it next year, it's the Padres.
And Ryan, I think I agree as well. I mean, because you and I obviously do, because, both our franchises have not been good for 10, 15, 20, 25, a long time. It's been a very long time for the Browns and the Padres. And more so what it means, though, to the city and to the fan bases. I mean, I think you guys probably know, but when the Padres finally beat St. Louis, they had never beaten the Cardinals in a playoff series until 2020. And you saw how this city erupted with the wild card series victory parade through downtown, and how everyone was basically in downtown or they were at the bars going crazy. And again, it's a thing that only people in Cleveland or San Diego would really know the feeling when you've seen your ball club finally get there after years of losing and, incompetent ownership and bad head coaches and managers. So, Ryan, we thank you for dropping by, man. And here's to Cleveland and San Diego, hopefully being on top of the mountain very shortly.
I'm hoping for that. And, I'll stay on for a little bit longer. I'll probably drop out in a little bit, but I'll stay on for our next segment.
Go BKC, Ryan.
But with that, folks, plenty of commentary. And again, the night shift is on air up until roughly the top of the hour. Plenty of thoughts real quick about this. Shri Anand disagrees with Mr. Wang. He says Lamar is still trash. Rode the defense. Josh Allen is way better. James also says that props to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. exercise the demons from last year's postseason as well. And also plenty of congrats towards our man Ryan Schreiner rocking the brown and orange. Hopefully it's the year of the team wearing brown. Cleveland and San Diego, hopefully, in the coming years. And I agree with Shareable Steve. Cleveland, this is for you. I was hoping that Ryan would have played Cleveland Rocks when he came on the air. Shri also says,
I'm sorry,
so lucky,
but that...
Ryan. Not only did your team make the postseason, they actually won a game. I don't know if it's luck, but it is what it is. Also, real
Shri,
quick.
No.
Go for
Hold
it.
on. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Shri, with the run the Patriots have been on, they could not make the playoffs for the next 20 years, and you still wouldn't be allowed to say anything. So I know you're joking, hopefully, but still, I know that this gets under my skin, but it's always going to get a rise out of me.
And Casey says, Callan, I hope that you get to apply for the Angels television play-by-play job. Not a Angel fan, but I think it's a good choice to be the voice of the Angels. I'd love to actually have more about that, not about applying for that position, but more about my long-term future here, sadly, with MI6 very shortly. Casey also says, congrats to the Browns on their win as they earned it this evening. And also, James adds on real quick, Ryan. Andrew Berry has done a great job putting this Browns team together. I think that's probably the first GM in a long time who's done well for the Browns.
Yes, thank you. My biggest fear after I said this is my last statement is that I would forget to mention someone who was key to the Browns' success this season. Andrew Berry is right up there. He is one of the smartest. I think he's the smartest GM Cleveland has had since the turn of the millennia. John Dorsey made all the, sexy moves. He traded for Odell. But Andrew Berry knew what makes winning football. Getting a good O-line and getting a good D-line. And he addressed those two needs in the draft and free agency. And that is one of the key contributors. I cannot believe I forgot Andrew Berry when going on my 10-minute rants. That's on me. I was being a bad Cleveland fan, but Andrew Berry deserves Executive of the Year for his work.
At the same time, though, when you've had, years of losing, you kind of forget. It's like, oh, this GM is terrible. It's like, oh, now we have to praise him. Shri also says, shout out Freddie Kitchens, too, by the way.
Nope. We don't speak that name.
Angel Berrigan
but
Jr.
No,
says...
I'd say a couple more things about Andrew Berry. He went out and got an all-pro right guard in free agency for a bargain. I believe his deal was 3 years, $40 million, and he's the best right tackle in football. That is absolutely insane. That is an otherworldly great deal. And let me just say this. The smartest thing about Andrew Berry is that he's not focused on getting his guys in the building. What he did was look at the roster and say, and I assume spoke with Kevin Stefanski because those two communicated really well, which is not the case with a lot of the past coach GM combinations in Cleveland. So what he did was just say, who are the best players on the roster? He wasn't worried about, I got to get my guys in there so I get all the credits. No, he said, who's the best players? Is there an area of weakness? We address that. He didn't just trade away good players so that he could get his guys in there. He took the strengths of the team that weren't his guys, kept them, and then addressed weaknesses. That is a humble GM. So many GMs just want to blow the whole roster up so they can get their guys in there so that they can brag to their friends, or brag to just the nation in general. I got my guys in there. My guys did this. Andrew Berry knew better. He said, no, you're a good player, you stay. And if you're not a good player, I'm going to find a replacement. It was just that simple. And that's the same reason guys like Urban Meyer were great at their jobs. They didn't care about their guys. I mean, for goodness sake, Urban Meyer went 12-0 in his first year at Ohio State. No, those guys are his guys in the sense, but he identified talent, and it was simple as that. So, goodness, I can't believe I forgot about Andrew Berry. He was up there with Kevin Stefanski, one of the key reasons for this turnaround. So, I say thank you for reminding me. I mean, I am kicking myself over here for forgetting to mention Andrew Barry, but thank you. I've always said our listeners are some of the smartest fans out there, so thank you so much.
Ryan, when you haven't won a playoff game and for as long as I've been alive, 26 years, going on 27 this year, you forget. And don't worry, man. It's all good. Angel says that the old Browns would have just folded and let the Steelers score 40 points in the second half, but this Browns team knows how to close out a game, and we agree, Ryan. Let it all out, buddy. I mean, this is 26 years of frustration and sadness and, utter pain, suffering, and agony for the Browns. It's gone down the drain, man.
I say, you guys are going to make me cry again. I already cried a couple times tonight.
Rightfully so, though, man. No need to worry. And Casey agrees. Congrats to Ryan. Angel also says, Callan, the Bears made history there on Nickelodeon. We'll actually have more about that game later on in the program.
Mitch Trubisky got the Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player, his biggest accomplishment in his career.
Won it by
so
a
congrats to Mitch Trubisky.
which was more hysterical. Also, real quick as well, Casey says, no, Isaiah, your Niners have not suffered. My Rams have suffered for years, but now that McVay is here, he has gotten them to be competing and in contention. Isaiah, you have 5 Super Bowls. Enough. Ryan and I haven't won anything in over 26 years.
Also, a quick shout out to Bills Mafia. I'm so happy for the Bills on getting their first playoff win in a while. Bills and Browns fans, I feel like we kind of united this postseason in we haven't won a playoff game in so long. So I'm happy to see the Bills win. I'm happy to see the Browns win. And even the Rams, I'm happy the Rams won. Yes, they went to the Super Bowl recently, but so many people, me included, thought that they wouldn't make the playoffs. I personally predicted that they would go 6-10, I believe. But Sean McVay has shown he is a top 10, if not top 5 head coach. Completely changed his identity to fit the roster. And that's what makes a good coach. Good coaches see the roster and just maximize his talents. A couple years ago, it was all offense, maybe a smidge of defense. This year, it was a defensive-led team with a good run game and the occasional pass by Jared Goff, which, didn't play great, but kudos for him for playing through a thumb injury. I respect that. So the Rams, kudos to them as well. A lot of people didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but they beat the Seattle Seahawks. A popular pick, I believe 86% of people predicted the Seahawks would win on ESPN Pick'em. So, good on the Rams. I picked the Rams, so I'm happy for that. So thank you, Rams.
Man, the Browns, the Bills, the Padres, all the good feel-good stories are finally coming to fruition. And Steven agrees. Congrats to the Bills and the Browns for their playoff victories. And also, Shree says, but in all seriousness, though, fellas, the Browns really impressed me. Basically, no practice, missing multiple offensive linemen, no head coach or O-line coach. Shout out to Van Pelt. Excellent coaching job. And also, our man Austin Morrison writes in, Browns and Bills fans are the most loyal and faithful fan bases, in my opinion. They do anything for their teams, and I'm happy to see them winning, especially if you're a Bills Mafia, putting somebody through a damn table. You got to love it, fellas.
A table on fire, I might add, for some Bills Mafia fans.
I mean, how about the video of the dad dropping his newborn child through a birthday cake and a table, too, onto an air mattress?
The initiation process.
Initiation for sure. How about the folks? We have to step aside for a moment here, kind of get to some very important business here on the MI6 Sports Network before we actually get into more about the games here. Again, we're going to recap all 6 games and also get to one NBA story, though. But however, though, folks, we do have some very big news, though, in regards to the future, not only the future of the network, but more so just some changes that have to be made here. And that, of course, folks, actually involves yours truly here. As you folks probably know, though, I've been back to work since December, but not really on a consistent basis, as you probably know very well, with the ever-changing confluence of events surrounding COVID-19 and the pandemic. And, of course, we have seen games postponed and canceled, and it's been more so for me checking my email every 30 minutes or an hour on a game day, do I need to show up? Do I not need to show up, though? But now, though, folks, as we move towards January and move towards February with now another school starting and also professional hockey starting this week, I sadly, folks, have to announce here that I will be not able to be with you as your main moderator and host on the MI6 Sports Network for the next several months here, because this is going to be probably the most grueling time that I'll probably have in my 12 years of working in sports, though, where literally everything is falling into my lap in January, in February, and for the next several months, though, of trying to get everything squeezed into a very, very tight window. But as we said, though, with such changing things, though, of COVID ruining seasons and ruining games, where I've already have somewhat told the guys off air, though, but I've had 9 games over the over the stretch of imagination, at least 9 games, not 10 games, already postponed since November because of COVID, and also with it being done during basketball season and in conference play. They're going to try their best to reschedule all these games, though, but with everything kind of hitting the fan at once between college basketball, college soccer, college baseball, college volleyball, minor league hockey starting, and everything else that is going on, and with me having a very small amount of time to be with you folks here, I'll have to sadly step away for a bit of my duties to kind of, again, focus more about what actually is most, which again is more so at stake here with this right now. But we'll have that released for you folks very shortly. So with that in mind, folks, my final program with you here for the next, or for a bit here, is going to be coming your way January 13th, this Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll do our best to have some type of a minor send-off. But if anyone out there is wondering, I'm still going to be fully invested, though, and committed to the network here while I'm away, though. But I will not be able to have that time on my side, though, on Mondays, Tuesdays, but for majority of the week, though, because there's literally 2 weeks right now in February where I'm going to be working Tuesday through Saturday and will not have any time away to give myself a day off. Plus, also, as you folks might know as well, with the changing landscape right now in the hockey business right now, games are being played out of San Diego County up in Irvine. And with me traveling as of now between San Diego and Irvine for the season, there's literally going to be no time for me to be able to devote any type of time, sadly, to the MI6 Sports Network. But right now, folks, I'm also working on a story, though, that will be kind of a first-hand perspective, though, because I'm sure a lot of you out there have been kind of wondering, how has it been getting back to work during an ongoing global pandemic and a global crisis where there's no fans? So I'm working on that story for you folks that will be on the MI6 website. But once again, everybody, I guess to kind of keep things brief, because we have a lot to get to and still unpack here on this program tonight is, and I'll have more about this throughout the course of the week, though, is this is not a permanent goodbye. It's a temporary wine stopper, basically, for me to kind of, cut the cord for a bit and give myself enough time to do these games, travel, keep myself healthy, but also kind of get back to some type of a regular nightly sleeping pattern, because as you folks probably know very well, of all the work that we put in for these late night programs on the weekends or any program, it does take a lot out of you, believe it or not, even though that you're not being paid for the position, though. But with all this in mind, though, as mentioned, everybody, but I'll be once more stepping away come Thursday, effectively. So my final program with you here will once again be on Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, back here for one more round of Wild Sports Talk. And again, I sincerely appreciate everyone on the network being very understanding of this move, because as we know, it's been a very difficult process for those of us that work in the sports industry, for that matter, with like myself, with announcers and writers and media folks who, again, have done their best to stay healthy, but also trying to figure out, though, when can games be played again. So we'll have more about that at this rate as the rest of the week does, in fact, chug along. But John Alcorn, I'll start with you, though, man. Yes, I'll be gone, but hey, that won't keep me, though, from tuning in and commenting, man. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is at this rate, where once more, again, something kind of in a way has to overtake everything and everything else going on. But John, I know that you're still very young right now, man, seeing this industry, or at least getting your feet wet, man. But at the same time, though, I mean, it's a move being made temporarily, man. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to miss everybody here. I'm still going to be in contact with you guys, obviously, but it's not the same, though. I think, if you catch my drift, it's not the same just comment in on a program, or like, okay, do I need to hop into StreamYard and set Isaiah straight about his predictions or help out with something else? But John, sadly, it is what it is right now at this point in time.
Yep, and I'm 23, just now learning the industry, so it's definitely a lot of work. But like we say here, folks, this is not just what we say on camera. Then behind the scenes, we're like, "Oh, screw you!" This is a big family, and yes, this is temporary. But we can't replace Callan. We can find somebody different, but there's only one Callan.
I mean, I don't know how many of me there are actually out there at this rate. And Isaiah, I will say though, man, that sadly, Isaiah, I have to thank you a lot for bringing me over here to MI6 because, as I think everyone knows, that we made the move of bringing Wild Sports Talk over to the MI6 Sports Network back in July. And, I have to thank you, I think, for one, doing that podcast with me and John Mathis and seeing how well it's been received since July, though. And for, again, giving John and myself an outlet and a area to come and obviously be with you guys and, obviously meet new people, make new friends and stuff like that. But, again, Isaiah, just because I'm not hosting does not mean I'm not going to be tuning in when I have time and not writing something in or maybe popping in just for a second to say no about you changing your predictions.
Yeah, man. First of all, when Ryan was giving his thoughts about the Browns and when you dropped that bombshell just now, Callan, I turned my camera off because I was scared that I was going to start weeping on the show and looking like the second coming of that Michael Jordan meme. But in all seriousness, though, man, you've been a tremendous addition here to the MI6 Sports Network. This network really took off when you and John Mathis joined our network, and I totally understand why you're stepping back because you're going to have a lot of work in the next coming months, man. And I wish you nothing but the best. We're going to try to replace you, probably not. But it's a major loss for us, but don't worry, man. We're gonna hold down the fort for you until you come back. And now that I'm kind of gonna be running the backstage stuff of this network, you're probably gonna see a lot of crazy ideas. So we might be laying out in the next few months. Like I've talked to Callan, talked to John, talked to Steven, and talked to Ryan about some of these ideas that I have, these wild, wacky ideas that I have. Don't know if they're going to approve of it yet, but I certainly have it in mind. But, don't worry, Callan. I won't change my picks at all on No BS, and we're doing Pigskin Pick'em. That was just one time because Google glitched on me and gave me some Navy Army score from the 1980s and when I was trying to look for a score from last season. So there won't be any more changing picks from me. You can mark that down.
Ryan disagrees.
I know, I don't disagree. I have to say something. Number one, Callan, we'll definitely miss you on air. As Isaiah said, you have been an incredible addition to this network, and we probably won't be able to replace you. But just know this. I know I personally will get on Isaiah about his bad predictions, and everyone else will as well. So that part you don't have to worry about. We'll hold the fort on that. I promise you that. I will always hold Isaiah accountable because, Isaiah, do you fear Patrick Mahomes?
No comment. I plead the fifth.
Oh, he's hiding his face because he's so ashamed.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
I won't fear him once Tom Brady and my brand new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beat Patrick Mahomes and win the Super Bowl.
You weren't switching takes and everything.
Breaking news.
Now you're switching
Isaiah
teams.
had bandwagon on a different team.
We smell a little bit of a bandwagon. Wow.
I believe it is a bandwagon. He's come on camera. A bandwagoner in the wilds. Isaiah Leung.
In his natural habitat, nonetheless. Shareable Steve, I'll go over to you now. And Ryan, I thank you for hopping in there because I was going to obviously get to you. You were next in line after Shareable Steve. And, again, I think it's great, though, having the three guys that have been, key to this network's success with Ryan, Isaiah, but also our executive producer, Cheryl Stephen Wang, also being on this program. And, Steve, I don't want to go too much longer because I'm sure all the fans are out there waiting for us to get back to, get to all the recaps of all 6 games. But Cheryl Steve, I'll let you have the floor here for a brief moment, kind of about where things stand right now. And I know it's going to probably be a case right now of kind of everybody running around with their heads cut off, like they're chickens with their heads cut off for the first week or so when I'm gone. But Steve, again, I have to thank you, Isaiah, Ryan, Shri, and Trevor. All the founding fathers of this network for the chance to be here. And for, the ride that we've been on, but also all the success we've all been able to share over the past several months, for that matter, for almost a good portion of the year already.
Yeah, Callan, it's been quite a wild ride with you and Jonathan Mathis on this network. Obviously, Jonathan's still on paternity leave right now, taking care of his new daughter. But really, Callan, you have just been so key in this network. I mean, bringing Wild Sports Talk along with Isaiah here, our most popular and our most viewed show in network history. All the energy you brought in managing Isaiah, managing all of our wild and outrageous commentary, but mostly Isaiah's hot takes and Isaiah's take packs and all that. But it's been a really, really good journey, man. And I just think that you've been such an amazing addition to this network, man. It's not just like the commentary. It's not just your amazing voice. Like, you definitely have this sports industry thing down pat. And I think you are such a great mentor to, like, not only John, but all of us here who are trying to, in some way or another break into the sports industry. I mean, you really know your stuff, Callan. And, from the bottom of my heart, I just believe that you definitely deserve to get paid for what you do. Like, you have every bit of the juice necessary to be successful in the sports industry. I wrote Callan a very glowing recommendation on LinkedIn, and he's actually the only LinkedIn recommendation I've ever given on that entire website. So it shows where I stand with Callan. Before you came aboard, and even during when you came aboard, a lot of people, they called me the CEO of this network. But for the longest time, man, I've almost felt like that title belonged to you, Callan. Like, you've been so key in everything that we've been doing, making all those trailers and joining on all of our planning and post calls and the 32 days of hot takes challenge and everything. Surprisingly, Isaiah didn't win, but there's just been so many positive changes that have come out of this. And I know for me, this network has just been more to me than just sports. It's been more than just a life with sports. Anytime I feel stressed, or anytime like I face challenges during this pandemic, or even unrelated to this pandemic, I can always count on these brothers to call. I can always count on you, Callan, to console me and, just lighten the mood during a very, very rough 2020 and what appears to be a rough but also hopeful beginning of 2021, obviously, with Ryan's Browns crushing the Steelers and our Buckeyes running into the national title race. So I want to thank you, Callan. I want to thank the network. And Angel's right. He hit the nail on the head. This network it's not going to be the same without you. You are going to be missed, most certainly. And we can't wait for you to get back. And even if during your leave, if you can hop in and just occasionally correct Isaiah on his nonsense, that'd be great, because now it's up to me and Trevor to hold down the Isaiah 4, man. We're going to have a lot on our shoulders. Before you came in, Callan, we were the two main guys that we had to deal with Isaiah. I know John's going to try his best. I know Ryan's going to try his best to keep him in check. But you know what they say, it takes a whole village to raise a child, and it takes a whole village to keep Isaiah contained. And I'll leave it at that.
Plenty of thoughts concerning this, folks. Again, everyone, we will get to the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend in just a moment here. We had to get, obviously, Ryan get his thoughts about his Browns winning, and also kind of get that announcement out there. The official release is now out via the Facebook and Twitter pages for MI6. Angel also says, thanks to COVID, the sports world would have been chaotic. Everything happening at the same time now. We're going to have Major League Baseball, the NHL, and the NBA now in July. Shri also says that Callan, you'll definitely be missed. Again, I know it's a temporary break, but it feels like it's going to be longer than just a temporary ordeal, but it won't be. Casey King also says, Callan, you'll be missed, but I understand what you got to do, and we will welcome you back when you return. And glad to hear you're still doing PA with the goals up in Irvine. It's more so, folks, why that this is happening is for the fact of once more we're going to be playing games again out of San Diego for the year as of right now due to the ongoing COVID issues. My man Kevin Joyce says, Callan, you ought to be calling the Super Bowl, the NHL Finals, the NCAA Final Four, and the World Series. One day. We will get there one day. And also as well, Casey also says that Callan hopefully get a pro job as a play-by-play voice in one major sport down the road. Again, one day, hopefully, sometime soon. And we'll see how things go. But again, I want to, as already mentioned once, but we'll do it again here. As a reminder to everybody, starting effective this Thursday on my usual off day from the network on Thursday, once more, my final program here for the next few months on the network due to temporary hiatus. Again, trying to fulfill all these obligations with sports and for broadcasting. Again, my final program for you with you folks is going to be on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And it sounds like we're already going to have the entire network family joining us here on that program on Wednesday night. With that, again, folks, we'll finally now get into some of the coverage here of the NFL and its super wild card weekend. Literally, folks, 2 days in a row of insane three games being held over the course of Saturday and Sunday. Well, we will first, guys, start on Saturday, and then we'll work our way to Sunday. First up, fellas, is the Colts and the Bills. From Bills Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, it is the Buffalo Bills, much like the Browns winning their first playoff game since 1995. They hold off and defeat the Indianapolis Colts at home, 27-24, to move on to round number 2 of the NFL and AFC postseason picture. This again snaps that long, lengthy drought for the Bills, winning their first playoff game since the 1995 season, while, of course, the Colts fall just short of the victory on Saturday. With that in mind, John, this game, I think, seemed to kind of be one that I think a lot of Bills fans were kind of like, maybe some of the same emotions that Ryan probably had with this game in regards to, we got the lead, but are we going to be able to hold it because of like all those demons of the past coming up? It's like, is it going to be, one mistake is going to probably end the game, or it's going to swing the momentum the other way, though. But Alcorn, I think, though, probably, great game for Josh Allen, great game for the Bills offense. Stephon Diggs red hot in this ball game, but also that the Colts. I give props to the Colts, though, Alcorn, for them not going away, because they could have probably rolled over in this game in certain situations. But man, they were once again right there and close. But ultimately they lose. But I will say, though, if there's one defining moment of this ball game, Rodrigo Blankenship doinking the upright, which could have tied the game, I believe, at 13-13. And that one, and it sadly does not fall and go in. And that, I think, is the big turning point of this ball game for the Colts losing. But more so with that in mind, John, overall stance and takeaways as the Bills win their first playoff game since 1995 over the Colts 27-24 at home to move on to round 2.
This is ironic because back in 2008, 2007, or whatever, Philip Rivers lost against the Colts in the playoffs. And then now you're being the Colts quarterback. He basically doing a reverse KD move to the Golden State Warriors years ago. If you can't beat them, or basically the opposite of the KD move. And this is what I've said about Philip Rivers. He's a fraudulent Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not a first, second ballot. Again, when we talk about the empty passing yards, the almost 60,000 plus passing yards and the touchdowns, those are the calories, those are the sugars, those are the fats. Take all that away. Look at the nutrition. And what has Philip Rivers done in his career in a big moment? Just like y'all said before on the show, Callan said before on the show, and I guarantee Ryan could share some very similar sentiments. In a clutch moment, when it is time for Philip Rivers to deliver, unlike DoorDash on whatever, Philip Rivers cannot deliver. At some point, we need to realize that. We always talk about, look at the numbers. But if the logic is there is that Philip Rivers is throwing for this many passing yards in his career, Kent Cousins is doing the same thing. So does that make him a Hall of Famer? No. So same thing goes for Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has never been known to meant to be a winner. What were the Colts thinking giving him that 1-year deal, 25 plus $26 million? I told people back in March of last year on that one, 2020, the Buffalo Bills were going to win the AFC East. This before they got Josh Allen, and I said even after they got Stephon Diggs. people laughed. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a thing where there's a lot of emotions. We saw Josh Allen last year. Of course, the biggest issue with him his first 2 years was his completion percentage, his being out of the pocket, couldn't make those big throws, wasn't very good in the pocket. You just saw that overall. But one of the biggest things is top 4 quarterbacks for most rushing touchdowns since 2018. I mean, he's just one of those guys that where we talk about Lamar Jackson, we talk about all these other different quarterbacks. It's not about the sexiest conversation in football. We all know that. It's not about always the team that's the most sexiest. And at the end of the day, Buffalo won because they're the better team. They have the better quarterback. I mean, think about it. Josh Allen's not even being considered for the MVP conversation. Do I have to look up the numbers? Almost 45, 100 plus yards, 33 plus T's, and I believe only 9 to 10 interceptions. But nobody wants to talk about that because either it's Buffalo or it's Josh Allen that people don't respect. I told you the kryptonite was going to be Phillip Rivers. Again, I don't give all the blame on Phillip Rivers. You obviously got to give some blame to the defense and especially to the coaching. How can you have a guy like Rivers who you know isn't clutch in the clutch moment? You give it to Rivers. That's like trusting Christian Havre or Josh McCown to win you a big game. The only time Josh McCown has done that is when they had a losing record his second year in the league with Larry Fitzgerald. I just not a surprise that the Buffalo Bills won the game. I was high on Josh Allen in 2019 when he would dove for the first down against the Minnesota Vikings. And it's a shame because we have guys that put up the big numbers and be in the MVP conversation, but they don't get talked about. Look at Deshaun Watson. Of course, look at Josh Allen. I'm not surprised the Bills finally have their franchise quarterback in. They have the long drought, and of course, Bills fans being crazy, throwing you-know-what stuff on the field. We're not going to say what it is, but you can look up YouTube for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. But, of course, this is Phillip Rivers in his career. It's so you can sum up the word in your head and yourself. It is empty calories. It is just like this Powerade. Phillip Rivers has never done anything in his career, and what makes it even worse, before my last topic, they kept saying, oh, we want to bring Phillip Rivers back next year. What? They give him false hope? You might as well hire Isaiah to be the head coach or the quarterback. You're going to give him false hope. So there's no reason they're bringing Phillip Rivers back next year. Do I say he's a terrible quarterback? Yes. Because, again, the numbers don't matter if it doesn't equivalent to wins. Look at Baker Mayfield. Didn't have the best numbers because it resulted to wins because he doesn't need to throw the ball all the time. Congrats to the Buffalo Bills. For the Colts, you need to swallow your pride. You shouldn't have signed Phillip Rivers, and I think most of us can agree to that.
Isaiah, I will respectfully disagree with the man in square two because of the relationship between Frank Reich and Phillip Rivers. It's probably one more year with Phil in Indianapolis. It is, probably not. But I think if Phillip does come back, it's only because of that relationship he has with Frank Reich, his longtime and former offensive coordinator with the San Diego Chargers. I might want to reiterate that statement as well. More so, Isaiah, for me, though, with Buffalo in this game, though, I already kind of feel like that Buffalo had this game won because I thought the weather may have been a factor because, as we know very well, Buffalo in January, who knows what it could have been like for the Bills and also for a team like the Colts coming from indoors outside. But more so, Isaiah, with this ball game, though, Josh Allen, again, great game. More so, like we have seen, though, at this rate, though, Phillip Rivers just more so in the past, I'd say, from this year to at least the last 4 to 6, last couple years in San Diego, his time in LA, could not find a way to either preserve a lead or come up big in the clutch. I think that we define a lot of quarterbacks like Brady, Peyton Manning, more so. I think we remember them a bit more so because did they deliver in big moments? Did they run a great 2-minute drill down by 1, down by 3, needing a touchdown to tie the game or take the lead at a crucial stage, though? And sadly, though, with Rivers, his last couple years in San Diego, his couple of years in LA with the Chargers, now with the Colts, though, it's become a microcosm, though, of him not being able to really, I think, cross that river, no pun intended, but again, cross that river and come up big, though, in the clutch. But Isaiah, overall thoughts on Buffalo's victory over Indianapolis on Saturday to kick off this super, super wild card weekend of football action?
Well, first of all, I got to give credit to where credit is due. Josh Allen on No BS on Friday. I said that I think we were talking about which of these quarterbacks in wild card weekend is under the most pressure to perform, and I picked Josh Allen because of what happened last year. The meltdown late in that game against the Houston Texans, and I said you got the weapons now with Diggs, with Beasley, with John Brown, with Moss and Singletary. You've got a great coaching staff around you. You're playing at home. You are the number 2 seed. You had a dominant year. It is time to put up or shut up and deliver, because if you choke this game and you lose this game, there's no excuses. And boy, did Josh Allen deliver, man. He was outstanding against a really good Colts defense. So I really got to give him a lot of credit for really going out there on the field and, exercising all those demons from last season. But in terms of this game, Phillip Rivers, I got to respectfully disagree also with John. Phillip Rivers didn't lose this game for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, he put up pretty decent numbers against the Buffalo Bills. Threw for over 300 yards, a couple of touchdown passes. The Colts lost this game because of terrible coaching decisions by Frank Reich. Let me take you guys on a tour here. The Colts, they are up 10-7 late in the first half. It's 4th down and goal from the 4-yard line, and Frank Reich decides to go for it instead of kicking what would have been a chip shot field goal. He goes for it, and guess what? They don't get it. The Bills come back. They drive down the field. Touchdown. It is 14-10. That is I believe it's a 10-point swing for the Buffalo Bills. And then you talk about Rodrigo Blankenship. He misses a chip shot field goal. And then Frank Reich, there was another decision where he was just over aggressive and he went for 2 when he doesn't have to go for 2. It was bad coaching decisions by Frank Reich and Rodrigo Blankenship missing that easy chip shot field goal, because if the Colts had kicked that field goal on 4th and goal from the 4 when they're up 10-7, it would be 13-7. You could argue that, Allen could have drove the Bills down the field. Fine, it would be 14-13. He kicks the field goal. Who knows? We're probably looking at a different game. I just think that Frank Reich was too aggressive in this football game, and he over-relied on analytics too much, and I think that cost him and the Colts the football game.
Ryan, I think I agree with Isaiah, though, more so that it's becoming a double-edged sword about whether to go for it on 4th down or take the points. And I know that I was very vocal on the first of only 2 Sports Lounge episodes, sadly, that's going to be airing here on MI6 last week, though, on last Tuesday, when I had said more so about the whole fiasco with the Eagles was, why are you trying to run the ball in on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line? Take the for sure points and don't risk, this game getting further out of control, though. Where I think that right now, more so, much like probably pinch hitting in baseball, 4th down going for it is now becoming a very big thing, though, driven by analytics, though, more so. And it also becomes a very big double-edged sword in my mind as well, due to the nature of, do we go for the field goal? Do we go for the 1st down? But also, I think that sadly, if a kicker misses 1 field goal in a ball game, then it's like, nope, we're not going to touch him now with a 10-foot pole. We're going to go for it every time on 4th down and, 4th down and 5, 4th down and 2, whatever it may be. But Ryan, more so, where do you kind of stand maybe in regards to Isaiah's point, though, about maybe coaching perhaps dooming the Colts in this game over Buffalo?
I definitely think there were some coaching mishaps. I agree with Isaiah that Frank Reich made some questionable decisions. And let me just say this about analytics. Sorry. Analytics can be a very good thing. Analytics is a great thing. It gives you insight into things that you can't just see with the naked human eye. But here's the thing I'm noticing is that some teams take analytics and take all the personal decision-making out of it. What I mean by that is they will just go whatever analytics say is the best. Like, 4th and 2 on your own 40-yard line at this time of the game equals a 52% chance of making it. Go for it. What I'm saying is analytics is great, but you need to understand the feel of some games. You need to understand what's going on. That decision to go for 2. Yes, the analytics from the 1 versus the 2-yard line probably said, yeah, or said, yeah, go for it. But you need to understand, you got to keep momentum. You just scored a touchdown. You don't want to take the risk of not getting the 2-point conversion and having the momentum kind of switch to the other side. So I agree with Isaiah. There was some coaching mishaps. Analytics is being too relied on. I'm not saying don't use analytics because it's great, but I'm saying use it in moderation. Don't just use analytics to say, oh, the analytics said this, that way I'm absolved from this decision. You have to mix the two. You have to find the perfect balance. You have to know what the analytics say, but know the feel of the game. So you can say, the analytics say it's 52%, but my team's playing like this. We have momentum. I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to kick the field goal, keep the momentum going.
And again, take those for sure points as well. Exactly.
But let me just mention one thing. And I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a minute. So bear with me, everyone. The NFL wants their punching bags or joke lines to continue, because how else could you explain the NFL looking at replay when they can review a microsecond of every frame and calling that Indianapolis fumble down by contact towards the end of the game on Pascal, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you look at that in replay and not clearly see that his knee was up when the ball was punched or ripped out? That is absolutely insane to me. I have no idea how the NFL looked at that in replay where they can zoom it in and slow it down to frame by frame and not call that a fumble. They gave the Colts every single chance possible. And I saw Colts fans on Twitter saying, "Oh, the refs screwed us. They were giving catches at the end of the first half to the Bills. They want the Bills to win." Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me right now? The refs gave the Colts every single chance to win. The game should have been over at that fumble, but the refs, or I should say the replay official, said, "Oh, I didn't see anything. Knee's not down. Who cares?" And gave the Colts a chance to win. That is absolutely insane. I have no idea how you call that not a fumble outside of just straight up collusion by the NFL to say, we want the punching bags to continue. We want the Browns to be the punching bag. We want the Bills to be the punching bag. Like, I don't know how. Can someone give me a better explanation for how they called that one play not a fumble at the end of the game? I would honestly like to hear a better explanation.
One word, as Isaiah would say, Ryan: corruption. It is corruption. That is what it is. Plenty of thoughts, guys. Real quick, James Gonzalez says Colts Bills was fun and nerve-wracking, but happy that the Bills and Bills Mafia won the game. Casey agrees. Congrats to the Bills in the win over the former team of Baltimore, the Colts. And Josh Allen did well, and yes, the Colts did give them a game, but the Bills are a better team. Angel also writes in, 3 teams, guys, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and Cleveland, all broke their long playoff droughts. James also says if that was the last game for Phillip Rivers, then it was a microcosm of his career. Godspeed to Phillip Rivers. Casey jumps from the top rope to nail Isaiah, and Isaiah thought that Allen would be in trouble and in this game and become a Higgins in that game, but he got it done and led them to victory. And James says that Josh Allen is his pick for league MVP. Casey also says that they need to consider a new quarterback in Indianapolis. James also says, even as a Raider fan, I'll miss Phillip Rivers and his antics and non-cursing sound bites. Got to love the one of his time with the Chargers, where he was basically dogging that Jaguars D-man downfield for that 90-yard touchdown pass. And yes, Isaiah picked the Bills, then switched his pick to the Colts, laughing out loud. Don't think we didn't forget Isaiah. James also says that Rivers threw well to all 3 of his tight ends when the spotlight for the Bills defense was on T.Y. Hilton. Definitely agree about that for sure. Casey also says that, yes, the Colts coaching was bad in this game as well. It was a little everything in this game for the Colts losing. And I think more so it's special teams, quarterback play, defense, coaching. It's a very big mixture of everything. And also James says analytics reared its ugly head again. And for the Colts this time. And Angel also says if it was the If they were at the 1, I would go for it. Otherwise, just take the 3 points. And if my Square One TV math is right, Colts would have won the game 28-20. That's possible. But again, more so that swing, though, those points could have been huge for Indianapolis. But again, it's the Bills winning 27-24 over the Colts. And again, that solidifies their first victory in the postseason, dating back to 1995, their last playoff victory. Next game, fellas, was an NFC West divisional matchup. Rams and Seahawks from Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. It is the LA Rams after a very scary injury suffered by starting quarterback John Wolford, and Jared Goff coming in, pulling a Willis Reed with that bad thumb, guys, and leading the Rams to victory over Seattle, 30-20 LA over the Seattle Seahawks. And I obviously picked Seattle, but I think with the win by the Rams, this just makes those Chargers even more irrelevant by the passing day in downtown Los Angeles and also in Inglewood. Also, guys, once again, another tough game, though, for Russell Wilson against this LA Rams defense. Never got himself going or in rhythm in this game. But more so, the concerns, though, still for the backup quarterback, John Wolford, again, who was out of this game and taken to a local hospital due to a neck injury after a very scary hit thrown by the Seattle defense, where he was down for a very extended amount of time, and he had to be stretchered off the field and taken to a local area hospital in Seattle. But, John, obviously I picked Seattle, but I will say this, though, is that this season alone, something up here has gotten to Russell Wilson against this LA Rams defense throughout the course of this season, maybe dating back to last season, though, where he has not looked good. He's looked hurried, rush, out of sync, and out of rhythm, and also that the Seattle defense did, in fact, look exposed, like the COVID-19 exposure app on my phone has looked over the past week or so right now, John. But more so, I think with this game, though, this sadly falls at the feet of Russell Wilson for having another bad game against this LA Rams defense, who has seemed to have his number over the past 2 to 3 seasons, maybe if not longer. It feels like it's been longer, but also, of course, Sean McVay and this Rams ball club, virtually unstoppable at halftime. McVay now, I believe, is 38-0 now in his career when his team leads at halftime. Overall thoughts, John, on another great win for the Rams, with also with a lot of adversity that this club had to overcome with, again, John Wolford's very scary neck injury, and also Jared Goff coming off the bench and playing her with that bad thumb.
There's definitely going to be some weird conversations here. It's the same story we've seen with Seattle and Pete Carroll since the Legion of Boom was broken up. I'm still a Russell Wilson fan. I've been backing up ever since. But he does it to the first 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks of the regular season. Then it kind of goes downhill. Then they get to the playoffs. They have the same defense. Pete Carroll doesn't address the offensive line. Pete Carroll finally addressed the defense. Yes, you got Jamal Adams, and then you got that little safety waiver from the Detroit Lions. Thank you. But this is the same story. I'm not saying that you need to put him on the hot seat, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I do blame Russell Wilson, and I also do blame the coaching, because I don't care how great your quarterback is. I don't care how great your team is. Number one, you need the offense line. And what I also saw early in the game is a lack of leadership. I understand DK Metcalf is frustrated. I understand, like, we all have those moments where we mess up or we let our anger get the best of us, as you saw that sideline Vera with Pete Carroll.
Right.
But you have to keep your composure. I'm like, oh, I'm just a football fan. But no, it's important. Because clearly, I understand you got a touchdown or two in the game, but when it really mattered, you lost control. And we just saw lack of leadership from all sides of the ball. And Pete Carroll with Seattle, it's the same thing over and over again. I just don't see that changing. But I will say, unlike someone on this panel, I won't change my pick and say I picked the Rams to win. I picked Seattle to win, and I can admit when I'm wrong. And, of course, Casey wasn't here on the show when I said on Thursday they are the LA Frauds. They should turn in their keys for pretending to be a Los Angeles football team. But, of course, I was wrong. Their defense is – I mean, look who they have. You got Michael Brockers. You got Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald potentially is going to be out for next week, but was considered for Defensive Player of the Year for like the second, third time in 4 to 5 years. You have Cam Akers. You have John Wolford, who I hope is back.
Scary.
Jared Goff, who I've doubted, who played well enough for them to win this game. But it's still the same story for Seattle. And as long as Pete Carroll, and I know this is uncomfortable for people, but as long as Pete Carroll is still there, it's not going to change. And you pay Russell Wilson, who I think does deserve it. But until they address those things, it's not going to happen as long as Pete Carroll's the head coach there.
Isaiah, I agree with Alcorn on this, that the Seahawks hit the self-destruct button. I mean, when you saw that, that sideline exchange between Carroll and DK Metcalf, you're thinking, great, this team is going to go right down the drain. But more so to me, though, as I agree with Alcorn about the frustration, but to me, though, this, I think, though, Isaiah, that this narrative is going to be written and thrown at the feet, sadly, of Russell Wilson, because this season alone, I think, he did not look very good versus divisional opponents. Against the Cardinals, he looked very out of sync and out of control. And he also looked very bad, though, against the Rams in both their meetings, I'd say, as well in their division. And more so with Arizona, yeah. But that the Rams, though, I think that they have made him a punching bag over the past 3 games, though, of the regular season plus the postseason. But more so, I think it's a like Alcorn said, though, as long as Pete Carroll's in control, though, things probably won't change for the better. But that right now, though, that this narrative, though, is going to be thrown at the feet, though, of Russell Wilson, though. However, much like Alcorn, I picked Seattle, but I'll admit that I'm wrong, though. But only because of the quarterback situation, though, and Jared Goff, I think, showed a lot of heart coming out of there, again, because of John Wolford and that very scary hit, though, again, thrown where he was knocked out, had to be stretchered off and taken to the hospital. And again, and Jared Goff coming off of having surgery after, dinging his thumb on the top of the helmet. And him gutting out that game, though, I mean, major props to Goff and also the Rams. But I think, Isaiah, though, that this narrative, though, is going to be swung around, though, and thrown in the face and at the feet, though, of Russell Wilson.
Callan, I think regardless if you picked the Seahawks or the Rams to win this football game, I think everybody can come to an agreement that coming into this game, we all thought that this was going to be a close football game, and I think you could say that majority of the people thought that this was going to be a toss-up no matter who you picked. You weren't really confident in Seattle to win this football game. If you picked the Rams, you weren't really confident about the Rams. You could see the opposing side winning this football game, and the Rams were just a better team in this football game. On No BS, when we were picking who we thought were going to win these games this weekend, I picked the Rams to win, and I laid out, the things the Rams had to do in order to win this football game. And number one thing that I said was the Rams, they had to run the football effectively and effectively, because you're not going to be able to rely on Jared Goff, especially coming off a broken thumb injury, to be able to throw the ball 50 or 60 times. That's just not happening. And with the Seahawks defense, the weakness of the Seahawks defense is they can't stop the run. Jeff Wilson Jr. tore up that Seahawks defense in the final week of the season and nearly gave the 49ers a chance to win that football game. So I knew that the Seahawks defense was going to be weak against the run. So the Rams, they had to be able to run the football heavily and effectively. And Cam Akers, that dude was a monster out there. I mean, he carried the ball for 28 times for 131 yards and a touchdown. The guy looked like the second coming of Eric Dickerson. That's how good Cam Akers was out there on the football field. And then I said the Rams, they had to be able to get heavy pressure on Russell Wilson and contain him running the football and the Seahawks running game to be able to win that game, because you're not going to be able to, give Russell Wilson like 5-6 seconds to throw the football and expect him not to tear you up. He's going to tear you up. And the Rams, they were all over Russell Wilson all day in that game. They got heavy pressure against Russell Wilson. Aaron Donald had 2 sacks. Morgan Fox had a sack. Leonard Floyd had 2 sacks. Whenever Wilson was about to throw the football, he looked very, very uncomfortable out there. And last but not least, Jared Goff, he just had to manage this game if he did play, which he did. He had to manage the game and not turn the football over. And like you said, Callan, Jared Goff coming off that broken thumb injury where he had surgery and literally missed 1 week of action and came back in emergency situation for John Wolford. The guy was 9 for 19, 155 yards and a touchdown. He had a couple of nice balls that he threw down the stretch, which really got the Rams into scoring position to try to win this football game. And last but not least, the big turning point, I would say, was that pick six that Russell Wilson through. That was the big turning point in this game because Goff was struggling. The Rams, even though they had a 3-0 lead, their lead was kind of on ice until that moment. And he picks off Russell Wilson, runs it to the house, and I think that's like a 10-0 lead right there. And then the Rams, they just look more energized. They look more juiced up. They look more focused, and they look more confident after that pick six by Williams to give the Rams a 10-0 lead. But what a win by the Rams and Seattle. John's right. They got to fix that offensive line because the Rams defensive line, they demolished that Seattle offensive line all day long. And then they got to fix that defense because, that defense with Jadeveon Clowney, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, with Jadeveon Clowney, they were last in terms of total defense in the entire NFL. He leaves, you replace him with Jamal Adams, they're still in the bottom tier in the NFL. So they got to fix that defense if Seattle wants to go back to the Super Bowl.
Ryan, I agree with that more so at Seattle. They are right now not on the right track right now. That more so for me, though, that this club's success solely relies on Russell Wilson. And in this game, though, Ryan, Russ never was settled. He was very erratic, out of control, but more so running for his life, it seemed like, every single possession where he was being sacked, hurried, being knocked down, being swarmed, though, by this Rams defense. Where I think as well, though, Ryan, they probably would agree, though, when you've played a team for the third time in the season in regards to, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, LA and Seattle, where, again, now you have a first-round playoff matchup, I think you're bound to eventually break through and fix fix every little small detail that you had go wrong in the first two games. Now, at the Rams, of course, to me, though, that they have kind of seemed to be the team that's had the best blueprint to beat Russell Wilson, them and maybe Arizona the past couple of years. But Ryan, what are your thoughts more so about the Rams winning? And again, Jared Goff coming in after the surgery with that broken thumb and then winning by 10 on the road nonetheless, but also winning in Seattle over the Seahawks.
I'll keep this quick because this game and the result of this game was very simple. First of all, the Rams won because they had the better coach, better offensive line, and better defensive line. If you have those three things, it doesn't matter if you're the better quarterback by a large margin, which I believe the Seahawks had.
Agreed.
If you have a big deficit in coaching, offensive line, and defensive line, you're done. You're not going to be very successful. So that is why the Rams won this game. That's why I picked them, because I trusted the Rams defense, I trusted the Rams offensive line, and I trusted the Rams head coach and coaching staff in general more in a postseason situation. So that's why the Rams won this game. You can go into a bunch of reasons, key plays, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's just that simple. Better offensive line, better defensive line, and better coaching. It's as simple as that for the game. But let me take off this Browns hat and scooch my camera up, because I'm not saying this as a Browns fan. So you see just my face, no Landry. I'm completely neutral right now. This is the reaction I give to the Seahawks organization as a whole. Just that meme right there, because they are not a smart organization. And here's why I say they're not a smart organization. They got a quarterback. They got a top 5. They got a top 10, if not top 5. Or actually, no, definitely a top 5 quarterback in Russell Wilson. He didn't play great, but, the offensive line wasn't great, as John alluded to. So why do I think so poorly of the Seahawks organization as a whole? It's because they're a dumb organization, because they think, oh, we got a quarterback, so we don't need to address the offense outside of giving him some wide receivers. We'll just address the defense by trading for Jamal Adams. And yes, that's a good move, but just because you have a good quarterback doesn't mean that you can just ignore the offensive line. You know why Andrew Luck is currently retired right now? Is because the old Colts general manager neglected the offensive line to an almost criminal degree and let him just get battered and bruised. The only reason Russell Wilson is still healthy at this point in time is because he's more mobile. He can get out of trouble. He can avoid the big hits in the pocket because he can just run out and throw the ball away. Andrew Luck didn't have that mobility, so he's retired. But the same level of incompetence can be applied to the Seahawks organization. The offensive line is awful. It's not great. Yes, you have a great quarterback, but that doesn't mean you can just ignore the offensive line. And the Seahawks will never win anything in the postseason unless they just get the Legion of Boom back on the defensive ends and carry them. Because, yes, Russell Wilson is great. He's a top 5 quarterback. But if he doesn't have an offensive line, he's not going to have continued success. He's not going to have sustained success in games in the postseason. This is what annoys me about general managers. They think, oh, we got our QB. We don't need to address the offensive line. It was the same thing with the Texans for the longest time in Houston with Deshaun Watson. And it's the same thing now with Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks. Address the offensive line. You could have a terrible defense, but if you address the offensive line, give Russell Wilson the time he needs, because Russell Wilson likes to throw it deep. If you give him a good offensive line, he can cook any defense in the league. But you have a crappy offensive line that doesn't give him the time he wants to throw the ball, and it just leads to bad results. So the Seahawks, congratulations. You got your quarterback. You're going to waste him by not providing him a good offensive line. Honestly, who cares about wide receivers? At this point, get a good offensive line and then address receivers. The Seahawks made the mistakes so many organizations do. They think getting him good wide receivers is enough to make up for a bad offensive line. It's not. Give him the worst wide receivers, but a good offensive line, he will do better than he is right now. That's all I'd say about that. Address the offensive line. Stop being dumb.
Now, most definitely, and I think that teams are kind of immune, or they think that that they don't need to patch up holes, though. And I think that now that you've kind of seen it firsthand, maybe they finally will start addressing the needs finally. Plenty of thoughts, guys. James says, the Seahawks look like they're in shambles. Aaron Donald again showing why he's the best defensive player in the game. Rams defense showed again why they're the number 1 defense in the game. Casey King, our resident Rams fan, says, next week going to be tough in Green Bay, but defense continues to do their job and continue to run the ball, which they should do. Then hopefully they can pull it off. We shall see what happens. It's going to be a good one in Lambeau next Saturday. The weather could be a factor, though, as we all know, though, with the lure of Lambeau and Soldier Field with those 2 sites. Also, James says about DK Metcalf, he gets a pass. He's young. Seahawks need to upgrade that O-line, though, and Russ has got to get his confidence back. I think it's been shot, though, by the Rams and Cardinals throughout the course of the past couple of seasons. He also adds on that the Seahawks also have to upgrade the running backs, who have been very, very banged up, and they've been very inconsistent, though, with their health over the course of the season. And Casey agrees that the Rams have owned the Seahawks for years, and even when the Rams were bad, they still have them as well. Angel says that everyone was rooting for the Rams to lose, but the Rams usually or always get the last laugh as well. And Angel further adds on that yesterday was redemption for Jared Goff. It was versus the Seahawks that he broke his thumb against, and everyone wanted to run him out of LA yesterday. The win was sweet for Goff. The Packers may be the favorite to win the NFC, but it's wide open, would not count out the Rams. And also James further adds on, Seattle has to scout well for the draft and get the O-line fixed for sure. I agree though, guys. Guys, with Angel that the Packers are probably favored, though, but this NFC is pretty much wide open. Would not count out the Rams, though, but the weather, I think, becomes a factor if, in fact, they play each other on Saturday with probably some snowy conditions maybe up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Last game, guys, for Saturday, the Bucs visit the 7-9 NFC East winning Washington football team, fellas, and this game is all about the Bucs winning. This one 31-23, though. However, though, a great individual effort, though, by the Washington quarterback, Taylor Heineke, who, of course, had the very famed dive for the touchdown, but ultimately it's too little too late for the Washington football team to knock off Tom Brady and the Bucs, who win their first playoff game since the Super Bowl in 2003 when it was here in San Diego. Last time they won a playoff game of meaningful proportions for Tampa Bay. And also that Tom Brady has now won 17 playoff games against 17 different opponents in his time. Isaiah, I will say this, though, man. Credit, though, does go to Washington. Again, a team that, again, won a very bad division this year. And also their backup quarterback playing because of Alex Smith having that calf issue, man. But other than that, though, Isaiah, it's all about Tom Brady and Tampa Bay winning this ball game. Isaiah, your thoughts as Tampa Bay wins and now forces another matchup between them and New Orleans coming up next weekend.
Wow. First of all, next week is going to be fun, man. Brady, Breeze, Bucks, Saints, part 3. I am definitely looking forward to it. But in terms of this game, I know that the Buccaneers, they won this game. They're moving on. I know that Tom Brady played great in this game, but Bruce Arians needs to be furious with his ball club. And the reason why is because the offense might have played great, but the defense looked pathetic out there. I mean, Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator of the Bucs, he kept sending pressure play after play against Tyler Heineke and the Washington football team offense. And when the pressure wasn't getting home to Tyler Heineke was stepping up in the pocket and he was torching those Tampa Bay linebackers, the safeties, and the corners. I mean, every single play you see like at least 1 or 2 wide receivers or tight ends wide open. They got to get their act together because they cannot play like this against, New Orleans or even Green Bay or even Kansas City if they can get that far. Because if they play like you can play like this against Tyler Heineke and, the secondary can look completely lost and you can get away with it. But you do this against Drew Brees next week. Drew Brees is hanging 50 on you next week with if those receivers are wide open like they were on Saturday night. So it was a good win for the Buccaneers, but that defense, they got to get it fixed, and they got to get it fixed in a hurry.
Ryan, I would agree with Isaiah before we let you go for the night, man, is that Tampa, of course, plenty of great offense, though, but, man, that defense kind of gave people a little bit of like, whoa, what's going on here? And I would agree with Isaiah, though, that Bruce Arians has got to be fuming about how that defense played, though, and especially against the backup quarterback and letting Heineke and that Washington offense kind of have their way for a bit there, mainly towards the end of the ball game, though, but kind of keep this game close for majority of the evening in Landover, Maryland. But more so, again, Ryan, it's Tom Brady winning a playoff game, and now, of course, Brady Breeze round 3 coming up next weekend in New Orleans.
Well, let me just say this. The Washington football team played a heck of a game.
Absolutely.
Were absolutely the worst team out of the 2. They were just severely less talented than the Bucs, and they put up a good game. We have to give them credit. They were not supposed to be in this game, and they made it a game for such a long period of time. Credit Ron Rivera and credit that defense and Taylor Heineke. Is that his name?
Yes.
Credit Taylor Heineke, played a great game. I mean, Washington was on their 4th string quarterback, and they played a great game against the Bucs. So credit to the Washington football team. But this leads me into the topic I want to discuss on this segment. Why are people jumping on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bandwagon? I've heard so many people saying, oh, Tampa Bay is going to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay is going to, upset so many different teams and make it to the Super Bowl. They have Tom Brady. They have a defense. They have all those wide receivers. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. First of all, look at Tom Brady's stats versus elite playoff teams. I think Tom Brady's a top 10 quarterback this year, but against the best of the best defense, and I'm not going to put this all on Tom Brady. I'm going to put this on Bruce Arians for not adjusting his offensive scheme. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on offense don't do good against good playoff teams. If you look at Tom Brady's stats, they aren't great versus good playoff teams. I don't get all the hype for the Bucs. I really don't. They can beat bad teams, and the Washington football team, let's be honest, wasn't an actual playoff team. They won the NFC least, which, given their roster, is a great accomplishment by Ron Rivera as a coach. But let's be real. this team as a whole, especially with their fourth-string quarterback, was not an objectively good football team. And they almost barely escaped that game. So what are they going to do against the Green Bay Packers? Or no. What are they going to do against the New Orleans Saints? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to lose because Bruce Arians can't adjust. It's his way or the highway. And I'm predicting he's going to take the highway to L-Town right now because the Saints have a fantastic defense that is going to stifle Tom Brady, get pressure all game long, and make it miserable for him. And the offense, like Isaiah said, if they blitz as much as they do and they don't adjust, Drew Brees, even at a weakened state, even at his last hurrah, will torch them because he can make the right reads, get the ball out quickly to the open wide receivers and burn them. Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, who started the year off well, have not finished the year out like very well at all. So I agree with Isaiah there. So honestly, I've seen so many people take the Bucs, and I really don't know why. Because this team has so many holes. I think their coaching is a liability at this point because Bruce Arians refuses to adjust. And I don't trust this defense against good playoff teams. I think Drew Brees can decipher the blitz, get it to the open wide receiver, and let his playmakers make plays. So I don't know how anyone can pick the Bucs over the Saints. The Saints will win next week by at least 14 points. They beat them twice. The Saints have the better coaching staff. They'll make the better adjustments. They'll make the better in-game plays, better play calling. So it's as simple as that. The Saints are going to win. If any game next week, if there's any game next week that I am very confident in, it's that the Saints will beat the Bucs. And I'm saying that over the Chiefs beating the Browns. That's how confident I am that the Saints will beat the Bucs because they have better coaching, they have the better defense, and I believe they have the better offensive line. So with those three factors being in the Saints' favor, I'm going to take the Saints. And the quarterbacks, well, I think Tom Brady's a much better quarterback. He's not going to be able to overcome those three deficits I mentioned. So honestly, it's as simple as that. If you're a smart man, you bet the Saints because the Bucs are the literal definition of pretenders. They can beat up on the weak teams as much as they want and provide fool's gold to many sports fans out there. But the reality is they're a poorly coached team. And I say poorly coached in that they won't adjust their coaching scheme. And they play good against bad teams, but bad against good teams. So if you're a betting man, take the Saints. It's as simple as that.
And especially with how you saw both of the regular season matchups go, where you saw the Saints kind of, sleepwalk a bit in game one, but they won that game over the Bucs. Then you saw them clobber them, in Tampa, 38-3 earlier in the season. Plenty of thoughts, guys, real quick. James agrees that Heineke was fun to watch. Washington has a bright future on defense. Minus, of course, Chase Young wanting Brady and didn't do anything against Tom on Saturday. James also says, I cringe whenever Todd Bowles' name is mentioned. He's just not good. Isaac Wang writes in that Zach Schulmer from Strong Opinion Sports said it best, that Taylor Heineke's performance is an indictment to Dwayne Haskins Jr. Maybe.
I agree with that as an Ohio State fan, unfortunately.
Most definitely. Casey says Washington gave Tampa a game, but Tampa's better team, and also Bucs Saints going to be a good game. The Bucs defense, though, definitely needs to play better versus New Orleans. It cannot pull a Higgins out there. If they do come out looking like a bunch of Higgins, it will be a long day for Tampa Bay. James also says Tampa Bay did not win their division and got stomped by the Saints twice and probably will again next week, even with the Bucs additions. I still have the Saints winning the South in August, as did I. I had New Orleans still winning the NFC South Division title. With that, guys, to the games on Sunday for the Super Wild Card Weekend. Again, the first of its kind. First up, the morning game, guys, Baltimore and Tennessee. From Nissan Stadium down there in Nashville, Tennessee, the Ravens get Lamar Jackson off the schneid with his first career playoff victory in a very testy match between these two ball clubs. Where again, guys, there was some history between these two clubs today in regards to a playoff game last season. The Ravens win the game 20-13, and they also contained Derrick Henry to a measly 40-plus yards of rushing, Isaiah. We also saw another sideline splat between him and his head coach, Mike Vrabel, in this ball game. But Isaiah, a very, I think, probably a game where I think Ravens fans and Lamar Jackson can finally just kind of, the first one's out of the way for Lamar Jackson after, again, a couple of rough games in the postseason. More so a game, though, Isaiah, that I think, though, got very testy, though, with that pick, though, late in the game. And, of course, we saw the Ravens kind of clear the bench and dance on the logo, where, again, we saw that a year earlier, where more so it was roles reversed. But more so, Isaiah, overall thoughts on Baltimore winning the game over Tennessee and pulling off the first upset of this games on Sunday.
I was unmuted for a second, then I muted myself. But for this game, I'm not going to be like my fellow colleague who was here earlier on the panel, Stephen Wang. I'm not going to be like him and said Lamar Jackson is like the top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and he did everything for the Ravens to win. No, Lamar Jackson got carried by the rushing attack, or no, he got carried by the defense. This was a defensive-oriented game by both sides. I was actually really surprised that the Tennessee Titans, their defense played as well as they did, given the fact that they didn't look good the final week of the season. They didn't look good in a couple of games as the season winded down. But, man, the Ravens, with allowing just 40 yards rushing to Derrick Henry, who rushed for over 2,000 yards in the regular season, is incredible, man. Their defensive line, their linebackers, their safeties, they got to get, like the Baltimore Ravens organization, Callan, they got to get those guys gift baskets. I mean, those guys deserve it 100%. The Ravens, their defense dominated the line of scrimmage, and the Ravens, they won this game with their defense, and they also won this game because the Tennessee Titans, they just couldn't stop the Baltimore Ravens rushing attack. Lamar Jackson, 16 carries, 136 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 9 carries, 43 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. Gus Edwards chimed in with 8 carries, 38 yards. I mean, they ran the football really well in this game, and Lamar Jackson also proved me wrong, because I said that, if the running game gets shut down, this Ravens offense, they're not going to be able to have success, because I don't really trust Lamar to throw the football, especially in the postseason. But hey, Lamar, with that game-winning touchdown pass, that 48-yard touchdown pass, he proved me wrong in this game. You got to give credit to Lamar for what he did with the running game, Dobbins, Edwards, and that defense just holding that Tennessee offense at bay and holding Derrick Henry to a measly 40 yards rushing. Totally incredible. Congratulations to the Ravens. And now I honestly think against Buffalo, they have a good shot of beating the Buffalo Bills if that defense can play the way they did today.
If they play like they played on Sunday, for sure. I had picked Tennessee in this game because of Derrick Henry and the running back battle kind of being what was going to separate the victory maybe for Tennessee, though. But mad props, though, to the Ravens defense for, again, shutting down probably, in my mind, still the league MVP of Derrick Henry and holding him to 40 yards in the game. But more so, Isaiah, like I said, though, is more so with this game to me, though I picked Tennessee, it seemed to be self-destruction, because when you saw the same thing with Seattle with Metcalf being frustrated on the sidelines, though, and Derrick Henry having a bit of a verbal splat with his head coach in Mike Vrabel, you're like, oh, great, now they're coming apart at the seams more so. And that Derrick Henry, though, I don't know if it could be a combination of frustration of the play calling or that he's not able to get going, though. But usually, though, when you see that happen, though, man, that's what usually I think breaks a team's back, though, is just seeing how, in fact, that they come apart at the seams, and also more than anything else, though, what happens, though, in the playoffs. And again, Baltimore wins, though, 20-13 between them and also between Baltimore and Tennessee. Some thoughts real quick about this game. James agrees that the Ravens defense gets so much credit for stopping Henry. Isaac also says the fun fact about this rivalry in the postseason between both Baltimore and Tennessee, no one has won a home game. So the visitors are 2-0 now in this playoff spat. James also says, good revenge game for the Ravens. The big payback, as James Brown once sang at one point in time. Also as well, Casey says, I picked the Ravens, a.k.a. the former Cleveland Browns, to beat the Titans, and they looked good today and have looked good down the stretch, and they probably won't beat Buffalo, but I think they can at least give them a game and can be dangerous in the postseason. Ravens-Bills should be a good one. I think it's going to be a great game more so. Again, you have two great quarterbacks, running game. Again, though, the running game may dictate this ball game. Again, if in fact they're able to keep that going. Isaac also says Greg Roman learned to adjust his offense, something that he struggled to do with Colin Kaepernick and the San Francisco 49ers. James also says all season long, but Titans defense was awful day and night from last season. Big time for sure. Casey also says, and I laugh at these Cardinal fans here in Arizona saying that Kyler Murray would win a playoff game before Lamar Jackson. Well, guess what, Cards fans? You need to worry about not tanking the second half of the season. Cards fans live in Neverland out here in Arizona. And a quick stat correction from Isaac, it's a 4-0 record for the visiting team. So 4 games in a row, though, regardless, that the visiting team has won over the home side in this playoff battle between Baltimore and Tennessee. But once more, it is the Ravens winning 20-13 over the Tennessee Titans. Next game, Isaiah, that I think had a lot of us feeling young again. The Bears and Saints from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome down there in New Orleans. But more so, Isaiah, remember, though, because this game was shown on Nickelodeon with Noah Eagle and also Nate Burleson being the NFL player in the booth. And, of course, all of the gimmicks of the graphics, the slime cannons, all the nostalgia of Nickelodeon. But it's all about the Saints as they go marching in and knock off Chicago 21-9. The Saints over the Bears from Mercedes-Benz Superdome down there in NOLA on this Sunday. Isaiah, no surprise here. I think a lot of people probably obviously had New Orleans winning. I, though, Isaiah, know that this is probably going to be one more so about the Bears and about Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky and all that stuff. I'm not going to put my feet into the fire about that, Isaiah. I blame this solely on maybe 3 reasons. Third down defense, lack of discipline, and Anthony Miller getting ejected, because that the Bears had played into the trap like they had played back in early in the year against New Orleans, more so about I keep losing the name of the defender that Javon Wims sucker punched in the game about earlier in the regular season, but also that how fitting though that Javon Wims, who sucker punches Gardner Johnson, I think is his name, drops the wide open touchdown pass that would have tied the game at 7. And it's another double doink, 2021 version. So Isaiah, there's 4 factors. Javon Wims dropping the wide open touchdown pass, terrible Bears third down defense, lack of discipline with all the penalties, and also Anthony Miller getting tossed in this ball game for jaw jacking again with also with Gardner Johnson. But also, Isaiah, I will kind of say in a bit, though, or maybe not fully on Alex Kemp and his referee crew, but I think, Isaiah, this was a flag-throwing fiesta in the Big Easy. So many penalties, more so a lot of petty calls, though, in this game. Not like it would have changed the outcome for the Bears, but Cole Kmet gets a very, very terrible unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for throwing the ball to the referee over the head of Malcolm Jenkins, I believe. He gets flagged for 15 yards. Then, of course, Anthony Miller gets popped for unsportsmanlike conduct as well, due to the nature, again, of him jaw-jacking again with Gardner Johnson, where, again, Isaiah, like any regular bear in the forest, smelling trouble or smelling food with their nose, and they walk into a bear trap, and it's all downhill from there. But more so, again, Isaiah, I don't want to pin this on Nagy, pin this on Trubisky. This is a full-blown team disastrous loss. Not just that, though, again, no Roquan Smith, no Darnell Mooney, 2 big-time losses right there where, again, Manti Te'o has to play on defense because of the Bears losing players because of injuries. But I blame a lot of factors, Isaiah. Yes, I know that everyone wants to beat the dead horse that is Nagy and Trubisky, but to me, it's bad discipline. It's Javon Wims dropping a wide-open touchdown pass, bad third down defense, and again, emotions and bad penalties, all, I think, that sums up this game for Chicago that, again, gives the Saints the victory. But more so, Isaiah, your thoughts more so about this game as the Saints win 21-9 and win pretty much with ease over Chicago on Sunday from the Big Easy.
Callan, I gotta apologize to you for, saying that my Sundays are more torturous than yours, because whenever I watch my Niners play, because my gosh, man, I feel your pain now as to what it's like every Sunday or Monday for you to watch Bears games. I mean, this game, I kept finding myself looking at this meme, like that meme right there. I kept finding myself saying, come on, Bears offense. Come on, Trubisky. The defense is playing so well right now. I mean, they limited Drew Brees and the offense of New Orleans to 7 points, I believe, at halftime. 7 points at halftime, which is like their lowest scoring output for the first half in a long, long time. I was like, can you just give me one good drive? One good drive and then punch it in so we can at least have a competitive ball game. But Callan, I think the reason why the Bears lost, or most of the blame for me, goes to Javon Wims, because that drop in the end zone, which he had the football right in his hands and it slips through his hands. That would have given the Bears, I believe that would have given the Bears, it would have tied the game for the Bears, and I believe it would have been a whole different ball game. I think the reporter on CBS said after halftime that after the Javon Wims catch, the Bears sideline, they were quiet, they were lethargic, you just couldn't sense any, juice in them, any energy in them, all that energy, all that air in the Bears sideline, it was sucked out after that Javon Wims drop. I blame Javon Wims primarily, I will say this. I think Javon Wims takes most of the blame for this loss, because the defense, they played pretty good in this football game until they broke late, because the offense just couldn't do anything. The defense was on the field forever. But Javon Wims, you got to catch that football. You have got to catch that football, since you're playing in the NFL. But, Callan, it was a torturous game. The Bears, they definitely need to get their offense fixed. And I agree with you. Those calls by the officials, they were terrible. I mean, Cole Kmet, really? He's throwing the football right to you, ref. He's throwing it right to you, and you were like Javon Wims. You drop the football through your hands, and you throw a flag for him just because you embarrassed yourself by dropping a football in front of the national television. I mean, it was pathetic. Offense, defense with those terrible penalties late. I think it was the Bears were down 14-3. They desperately needed a stop. It was 4th and 2 for the Saints, and then Eddie Jackson jumps off sides. That was a terrible penalty, but that Wims catch that Wims drop was the end for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, most definitely. When I go to bed tonight, I'll probably be having nightmares, cold sweats, hot flashes of that ball being dropped. And I think more so, Isaiah, it's a full-blown team loss, obviously, and I don't want to pin the tail on the donkey of it being with Javon or with Mitch Trubisky or Matt Nagy. But this was a full-blown just disaster, and I think more so that it probably, I think, for me, boils down more so to the lack of discipline. Because like I said, though, Isaiah, there was already prior history with the Saints and the Bears already with, again, Javon Wims sucker-punching Gardner Johnson. But like I said, though, let the Bears kind of in a way, though, like any bear in the wild, again, when they're smelling food or want peanut butter, they're playing into that trap. And the Bears fell into that trap again of being suckered into, by Malcolm Jenkins, suckered in by Gardner Johnson, and they let their emotions get the best of them in a big time situation like this in the ball game here today. So we'll see how things go. But more so, again, the Bears falter to the Saints, who again will now face Tampa Bay for the third time this season, 21-9 in favor of the once again in favor of New Orleans over the Chicago Bears. Casey, I agree, bud. Damn, man, Callan's Bears. The offense was definitely a bunch of Higgins out there today, especially in the second half. And again, Case, I don't want to blame us again about them not having Darnell Mooney. but that today was just not their day, and there was, again, more so case. I think Isaiah's right, though. It boils down to the Javon Wims drop pass, where that was a backbreaker in the first quarter of the game. And a backbreaking moment happens right there. And definitely the offense went straight down the drain today. James says, honestly, I would have had a regular season game on Nick, not a playoff game. We'll have a bit more about that in just a moment here. Casey has a direct question to me. Callan, do you believe Nagy will be fired? Sadly, Casey's simple answer is this right here in my mind. No, I don't see it happening, Casey, for the lame excuse of he has never had a losing season in Chicago. 3 years in a row, they have not had a losing season. Also, pandemic, no revenue, but that's for them to figure out maybe on Monday, perhaps. We'll see what goes on from there. But Casey, if you want my blunt honesty, I think no. I don't see Nagy being fired. More so for me right now, their issue is going to be the quarterback spot, because it's going to be, does Trubisky get franchise tag? Is he going to be back for one more season? Do you try to package a deal for Deshaun Watson with Houston, Carson Wentz maybe? I think right now, Case, that right now it goes quarterback, then the head coach, because I think that right now, knowing about the Bears' history, Matt Nagy is probably not going to be fired. Though if he does get fired, it may be a very big shell shock moment on Monday, but I don't think it will in fact happen. James says real quick, Jags Jets should be on Nickelodeon next time. He also says that mental and physical mistakes killed Chicago. It was the night, sadly, that Chicago died. Casey also says that Isaiah, I was actually saying same thing too in this game, to do something as well. And Isaac also says that the fact, Callan, that they did not target A-Rob feels like coaching like a crime. I mean, I agree, because Allen Robinson has been nothing short of spectacular, and that there's been calls for him to be have his contract extended. Today's game may have killed those contract talks. And I will say one thing as a parting message. Jimmy Graham with a hell of a touchdown catch to end the ball game, and he just ran up the tunnel to end the game, probably his last game in the NFL, sadly. But again, it's all about Chicago losing to New Orleans 21-9. Isaiah, over to you.
Callan, I want to go back to Casey's question about Matt Nagy and if he does get fired or not. I actually read somewhere, I think it was by Aaron Leung, who is the beat writer, one of the beat writers for the Bears. He said that he was told that expect changes by the Bears. I don't know if tomorrow or in the coming weeks, but expect changes by the Bears, and if he has to put a finger on it, he has a feeling that Ryan Pace, the general manager, will be the one getting axed.
So we'll see how the story develops over the course of Monday, and have maybe a follow-up for you folks on Wild Sports Talk on Monday night at 7:30 p.m. But maybe Ryan Pace is the odd man out, other than Trubisky and or Matt Nagy at this rate. Isaiah, will quickly get to one more game here. Of course, the Browns beat the Steelers again, winning their first playoff game in 26 years, 48-35. Isaiah, I obviously picked Pittsburgh. However, though, man, you know what? I'll take the blame for the loss for me picking Cleveland or picking Pittsburgh. But man, oh man, the Browns, I think, showed a lot, because more so, I think, like we have said though, Isaiah, don't poke the bear. We saw Ryan's name on the show tonight, which read, quote unquote, the same old Browns from Juju Smith-Schuster. But I think, Isaiah, don't poke the bear, man. And Cleveland and Pittsburgh, they learned the hard way on Sunday night.
This game was the Steelers. Look, listen, I don't want to take anything away from the Browns. The Browns deserve this win. They deserve, to be celebrating on the streets like crazy, because they haven't won a playoff game in so long. So they deserve to be celebrating. They deserve all the glory and the joy that, we are giving them right now. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, they self-destructed in this game. I mean, did you guys see the first quarter? They were down 28-0 after the first quarter alone. I mean, I was texting Callan during that game in the first quarter. I was like, bro, is this real, man? And I was also telling Callan, can you drive to my house right now and slap me upside down? Because I think I'm sleeping right now. I think I am dreaming. I think I'm having a bad dream right now, but it was for real. It was not a nightmare. And man, this Pittsburgh Steelers, the botched snap in the beginning that led to the touchdown, the Big Ben with a couple of interceptions, and then it all snowballed from there. But, Callan, I think my biggest issue with the Pittsburgh Steelers is Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, I'm going to call him out right now. Mike Tomlin is a coward. He made that decision. It is 4th and 1. You are down. I believe at that time you were down 35-23. Yes, you're down 35-23. You have all the momentum right now, and 4th and 1 from your own 46. You're punting the football. Really? With the way that you guys were stopping the Browns on defense and with the way that your offense was rolling, I think you would have definitely gotten it, and I think that you would have definitely punched it in for a touchdown. And it looks even worse. The next drive after Cleveland, they get the punt from Pittsburgh. They drive down the field. They score a touchdown. Pittsburgh scores a touchdown the next drive. So that could have been 2 touchdowns and 0 points for the Cleveland Browns. But no, Mike Tomlin decides, we got to punt the football from the 46-yard line. That was a terrible decision, man. And, Mike Tomlin, he should be ashamed of himself. I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin is the sole blame for this loss, but that was a cowardly decision by Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, though, about analytics kind of being like a double-edged sword, Isaiah. I mean, who knows what really was going on? But, I mean, basically, this game was over in the first quarter, and I'm sure that Ryan, if he was here, could have attested to it, though. Like, 28-0. It's still the Cleveland Browns. Are like, how they, what Browns way are they going to find a way to blow this game tonight? But once again, to the great people of Cleveland, this one is for you, as mentioned already. 48-35, the Browns over the Steelers to win in the postseason for the first time since 1994. With that, Isaiah, time to wrap up the night and get into some fun time. It's time now for the network's bloopers of the week. First time in 2021 that we'll be doing this. Of course, folks, we do this every Sunday on the night shift into Monday morning. Where again, we do our best to give you some laughs here on the program and bring you something good in regards to some of the great bloopers out there via social media. Some quick thoughts, actually. First, real quick, Isaiah. James first says, Big Ben has to retire and Steelers have to grow up and do anything to trade for Matt Stafford. Casey also says, this was the one game I lost to my picks, and boy, Brown stepped it up tonight and got it done. Isaac Wang, feel like the Broncos-Seahawks Super Bowl, but even worse. Laughing out loud. James says, I got home from working out just before the first quarter and saw the score and thought, oh, cool. The Browns were spotted 28 points. Ha, ha, ha. And also, Casey says real quick, Isaiah, I did hear earlier this morning on NFL Game Day that Doug Peterson could possibly be out the doors. The Eagles owner is not sure he's coming back via a trade, from what I've also heard, Isaiah, as well. We'll see how that goes. We'll have more about that, though, folks, on Wild Sports Talk on Monday nights. We are, in fact, past midnight on this Monday morning now of the night shift. With that, though, Isaiah, into some bloopers of the week, finally. First up, man, Andre Drummond. What are you doing?
George and Lou Williams.
Wrong one.
A low-scoring affair here in Memphis. A slow-motion affair here in Memphis. Valanciunas.
Was that the second edition of the Mannequin Challenge?
I honestly have no idea what Andre Drummond was doing there, Callan. I mean, this might be like when you're having a brain fart in the middle of a play. That's basically what Andre Drummond did there. Make a decision, man. I don't know, man. It was I think his brain might have been stuck on, what should I do? Should I pass it or should I go score? And then he realized, oh crap, the shot clock is at 7. It's too late. Gotta make something happen. And congrats, you're on Shaqtin' a Foo now, Andre Drummond.
I was waiting for one of the refs to start counting seconds. Come on now. What are we doing here? Why is there no seconds being counted? James says a 2K glitch. Ha ha ha. It's what it basically looked like. He just stood there and it was like the Mannequin Challenge came back to fruition. Next up, Isaiah, the return of Pandemic P.
George and Lou Williams, when he's in the game, the ball in George's hands right now. And off the backboard to nobody in particular.
So it wasn't the side of the backboard, Isaiah. It was the backboard itself this time.
Yeah, it was like I was just gonna say, did that ball hit the backboard? Because I know it hit something before.
George and Lou Williams, when he's in the game, the ball in George's hands right now.
Hit the bottom part of the backboard.
Callan, I think with the way that pass was going, I think Paul George thought Serge Ibaka was 12 feet tall. I think that's probably why.
He needed a trampoline to get up there and get that one. We'll go to the next blooper of the week. Here it is. Ow.
That deer thought he was Michael Jordan. He was trying to show that he had hops, but he couldn't make it all the way to that up the fence, man.
I mean, how far of a running start did he have, though? I mean, he was moving pretty good. I don't see what the problem was right there.
Just not enough hang time, Callan.
He ended up going for the dunk, and he missed the dunk, sadly. James also says, hey, pathetic P, still going strong.
At least he didn't get stuck in the fence. That's the thing.
Oh, thank goodness. That's definitely a good sign right there. Next up, Isaiah, Mother Nature.
Yeah. Really not a good idea. Oh, brother.
I mean, you want to talk about dangerous, Isaiah. That's roadkill.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. That guy just got swept away. Mother Nature was like, I don't care how big you are. I'm just going to show you my force, and just swept that man away. My God.
James also says in his best Kevin Harlan voice, the deer with no regard for his body. True story. I actually got a chance to talk to Kevin Harlan over the pandemic earlier this year during the shutdown. Great guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, folks, he's a great guy for sure. James, I agree. Stupid. It's like, why? I mean, come on, bro. That's pathetic. Next up, Isaiah, blow me away.
First of all, was he trying to do this over hot oil or something? Because I've tried putting something in boiling water. That has never ever happened to me. So
food fails always are the best. We have one more blooper of the week, though, folks. Here it is.
Here's you, here's Matt, there's you, there.
I believe they headbutted each other and didn't hit the balls.
that's like playing rugby right there, where the two guys just smack heads.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God!
Wow, that's wow.
I didn't realize until you just said it, where like the balls completely missed each other.
It sure looked like it, and I'm glad that no one was like severely hurt during the course of that video. But man, that will do it, folks, for our bloopers of the week. James also says slow-mo is always a winner, definitely for sure. With that, folks, we'll now transition and wrap things up finally on this now early Monday morning and go into tonight's final thoughts. Time to wrap things up here, folks, for this Sunday into Monday morning now here on the night shift, as we had a plentiful of hosts join us here on the program tonight. Isaiah, we'll first start with you, buddy. Over to you for your final thoughts for tonight, now this morning's program.
Callan, it was a great show tonight. I want to thank all the viewers that tuned in tonight. James Gonzalez, Isaac Wang, Casey King, Angel Berrigan Jr., let's see, Shri Anand, as well as Stephen Wang, Austin Morrison, and I think that's it. But yeah, I want to thank all the viewers for tuning in, man. We love the love and the support that y'all always give us. But man, my final thoughts is that, what a great wild card weekend. And what a great start to the NFL playoffs. The NFL playoffs, in my opinion, is the best playoffs in all of sports because it is one game, maybe except March Madness, but it is the best playoffs in all of sports because it's one game, winner take all. Doesn't matter if you're like the top seed or the 7th seed, anything can happen like we saw this weekend. I mean, who could have seen that, or who could have foresaw that we would have seen like 5 or 4 upsets, or 4, not upsets, but 4 of the lower seeds beating the higher seeds. So it's crazy, man. Looking forward to seeing what next week brings in the divisional round, and then the conference championships, and then the Super Bowl. It's just going to be a fun playoffs. Can't wait to watch it unfold. And also we have an announcement regarding Wild Sports Talk and the future of Wild Sports Talk as well. I will give it to Callan to make that announcement. But yeah, it was a great weekend, man.
No, you can have the floor for that. I don't need to make that announcement.
Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if we're going to start this tomorrow. I don't think we're going to start this tomorrow, but next week, Wild Sports Talk, now that football season is over, Wild Sports Talk will be moving back to its original 6 p.m. start time. It will be me, Jonathan Mathis, and it will be a TBD in terms of a fill-in co-host for Callan. So just want to throw that out there. Wild Sports Talk will no longer be starting at 7:30. We will start it at 6 p.m. instead, starting next week.
With that in mind, folks, as mentioned, if you missed the announcement earlier in the show, but the announcement that I had to make, though, due to, again, the nature of the schedule for my work schedule now for sports, again, kind of in a way being crammed into a very short window of time due to that nature, plus some other factors. Again, I will be having to step away from my duties hosting the programs here on MI6 for the next couple of months due to the nature, as already mentioned, of that. But we'll have more about that, folks. You can check out the release as well via the Facebook page of the Twitter account. But again, my final program with the folks will be this upcoming Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time before I in fact sign off for a little bit here. But as a reminder, folks, I'll be here again, still committed to being here. But as of right now, the schedule just does not allow me to be here, especially come the next couple of weeks, though, where, as mentioned, I'll be kind of in a way traveling to and from San Diego to do some games, plenty of things going on, but also a lot of college games. And also that both my D1 school and D2 school are going to be playing pretty much simultaneously starting this week, though. So it's going to be a very chaotic couple of months. But again, it's all worth it. But if you folks, again, missed out on the announcement, we'll have that again for you folks throughout the course of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and also on Wednesday as well. And again, my final program with you folks will be here again on Wednesday at 7:30 in the evening here inside of the MI6 Sports Network. With that, though, folks, we'll have more about that as the week goes on. But with that, folks, for Shareable Steve, Shareable Stephen Wang, Ryan Schreiner, John Alcorn, and Isaiah Leung, yours truly, Cal McClurg, is saying goodnight here from San Diego on this Sunday night into Monday morning now, folks. We'll catch you back here later Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Or actually, I will say this real quick, folks. Due to the nature of the college football final game of the season, the title game, we will have our program, folks, starting directly after the game does conclude. So we'll keep you folks posted about that. We'll have all the information. But again, due to the nature of the college football national title game being played on Monday, this Wild Sports Talk will be taking place following the conclusion of the national championship game on Monday. That game is set for 5 o'clock Pacific time. We'll be on air following the conclusion of that game with our live, raw emotion and live reaction to the final score and the conclusion of the game between Alabama and Ohio State University. With that, folks, until next time, good night and bye-bye.